Hello.
Hi, here we go.
Hi guys, we're here talking about, we're reflecting
We are. Yeah, we've been spending some time thinking about
doing work.
I do feel like we do talk about a lot of times, like we were thinking about this, we were doing that, but we do.
You know, because we're always thinking about things and then we're like, well, let's get the video and do a video on
that's
it.
the thing. Because we want to share with you what we're doing and what we're thinking about.
For sure.
So and we want you to share with us what you're doing and what you're thinking about.
I think we both feel like we're back to work a little bit. Like we're in, I was just saying, I feel a little revitalized recently.
Yeah.
Partially because of this class that we just had an experience with together. So
that it was Hayley's.
Yes, I facilitated the class here at the studio in Warren. And we started the class back in September, and we talked a little bit about it in a video. We talked, it was abstraction and then abstract rug hooking. So the whole thing was called abstract rug hooking, but the first class was doing miniature paintings and collages. And the second class was then applying that design and some of the things we learned to a rug hooking project, which is literally a process that I use in my own work.
You know, we love a thumbnail. It was kind of like a even better version of that.
And Liz has been doing, we showed some of these last, one of the last
I did
videos.
A little video about, I think I had some of mine in
minis, miniatures, and how important it is to kind of work on these like free-flowing smalls, and then start moving up in scale. That's something that I utilize in my work a lot, and I think you're utilizing
I know, and
your
especially
beautiful.
I don't have them with me, but I have a little.
We have other ones.
One thing I'm finding too is being a new. Well, I would say, I mean, I've always painted dabbling, but I'm feeling more like, I'm really enjoying it. It's becoming part of my creative practice. It's made it a lot less daunting for me as I'm going to call myself a new painter, to find my voice and in some ways I feel like I'm going both directions. I'm taking what I've been doing in textiles for years and bringing it to painting, but then those paintings are then revealing more about the textiles. So it's just very powerful.
And what is this journey if not learning about yourself as an artist? It's a great way to do that, to incorporate either a new technique or a new kind of medium into the mix.
Yes.
Can show you a lot about yourself. Again, I've been working this way for a long time, so all the stitching that Liz has been showing me, again, talking about that creative partnership, that's been helping me out, but that's not necessarily what this is. This is something that's tried and true for me. So I had done, you guys have seen these small collages in class with the class, and none of them are finished. They're all just pieces that I was
let's
playing
put them really
with.
close just for a minute.
Sure.
So you can see.
Yep.
Really see. There we go. And these are what, about like 3 by 3, 2.5 by 2.5.
None of them have been measured out. They're just kind of quickly drawn, whatever's, little squares. This is the type of painting that I have been doing for a couple of years now. You can see these are shaped pieces. They're done with watercolor. They're very flowy. And then from that, this is what I did for the class to kind of show. I made this hooked rug, mine to the string. I'm whipping the edge, so there's a string hanging down from it. But this is the piece that I then made from some of the influences from.
I kind of want to show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's probably really hard to see. Just
that edge, so that you can see the beautiful shape of it.
Yeah. Not the best way to kind of show it off, but I took ideas that kind of showed up in these painting collages and then explored them in this piece. One of those things very specifically I knew I wanted to take was that big white area, and that's because I'm not very good at using white, and that showed up.
So I know because Hayley shared with us that this thumbnail in particular was the one that inspired her to There were other places, but I remember.
That was one of the big areas. The other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to contrast these. These actually showed up in a different piece that I don't know, somewhere in my sketchbook. But this was the other kind of motif or idea that I took from a painting and knew I wanted to incorporate it in. The other things I did to challenge myself was to use different types of yarn that looked very watercolory. So I had a yarn that was very, very modeled, had a lot of speckles in it, to kind of like create this more sort of like area that kind of read as washes compared to some of these more graphic areas. So it's not like the best piece in the world, but it's all about learning and moving from one thing to another and finding like a thread that you want to explore. And I know I've kind of mentioned before that like I'm a formalist. What kind of like informs my work and the subject matter of my work is design, and you know, then a lot of expression comes out of that. So for me, picking up on you know, these different elements of design that I see in my work is a thread that runs through, that I take from one piece to the next. And then sometimes other ideas emerge too, more graphic or literal storytelling type illustrative things. But for the most part, when I'm making this work, it's all about visual ideas like this, and like I said, like this, and you know, just working with those and seeing, it's like a puzzle to see if I can solve. Right. You know, how do I use this visually? So that's, in a nutshell, not to ramble on anymore, basically what the class experience was. Class 1 was this, class 2 was this, and now everybody's gone off and
oh my gosh,
took their pieces.
Incredible the things people did in the class. I was a student in the class, clearly, as you can tell. Hayley taught the class, and it was just it was great to be part of a group of people who were opening up. And we talked about this a little bit. We should have been recording while we eat lunch. We really need to eat lunch with you guys because we talk about a lot. But the vulnerability that people showed, and just the letting people kind of be open and say, I really want to do this. I want to try this. I want to break out of what I've been doing, and not change, but almost like expose. It's like expose what's behind why they're making things.
A class designed to make people a little uncomfortable in a way, because if you knew the class, and some of you might know these wonderful people, but they're a very group that's extremely competent in technique and craft.
Very skilled.
Very skilled group.
Very skilled.
And this was not that. This was, do not rely on your technique. Of course, with rug hooking, you have to just a little bit know a bit about the technique, but it was really about the visual concepts. Like the way that I tried to sell it, and hopefully I did, was like, we're talking about visual art. Get rid of the technique. These aren't objects to be used. So you can kind of scrape that away and just think about the visual, you know, imagery that's going to emerge out of this process. And like, that's like for people who are used to making functional work, that is a big ask. And everybody went on that journey with me, this challenge with me.
It is funny because there's an expectation when you do what we do, make quilts, embroideries, textiles, whatever. People always ask, what are you using it for? What are you doing with this? What, you know, and the answer can be, it's art and I'm hanging it on the wall, you know, or you could lay it on the floor if you want because it's a rug. But it's hard for people to somehow get away from that. It has to be, we talked about this many times.
Oh,
but,
for sure. That's why we call ourselves the Expressive Stitch Collective, is because it's about the expression that comes out of the process. You know, and also combining something like water media and collage, which is very abstract, with the stitching. It's like, well, why bother add the stitching to this process? And it's because the stitching itself adds this meditative quality to the process.
And I just had a thought when you said about that we used watercolor, because really when I think about all the types of paints we could have chosen to use, or you could have had us use, watercolor is the one where you have the least control.
For sure.
And you have to let go, and you have to be open to kind of what happens. And that is what we're trying to do. Whereas rug hooking is very, I am placing this stitch, and I am placing this stitch. So it's like a way to bring that things just running together into your rug hooking. I love that.
Yes, it's rug hooking in a painterly way, which again, it's like, well, why? because the rug hooking brings an element of the actual stitching that is, you know, really enjoyable and meditative. So for me, the process is, you know, I do a lot of the stream of consciousness and all at the same time, kind of like higher design thinking simultaneously when I'm doing my watercolor collages. And then I get that sort of same experience with rug hooking because I'm making choices, but I'm also just doing this.
And you're
repetitive.
taking the time. Where in the beginning, I know we talk about this a lot when we're talking about thumbnails. We say work quickly, work fast, get it out. Don't think about it. Just get it out. Almost like you're letting your mind. I hate to say like you're vomiting it out, but you kind of are. Like
but
you're
you
like
can also like watch TV. And just doodle
and just let it happen. Just let it come out. Don't think about it. But then what's really neat is when you go to take that into a slow stitch project, because you're sitting. And you're forced to be there sitting with what you've sort of created and made. You really do. I know we touched on this. We've talked about it before, and you touched on it in the class. Sometimes the story of what you're making is revealed to you while you're making it. Yeah. And that for me is very powerful. I have that experience a lot. And I think that this exercise in particular really lends itself to that because you're letting things open up and there's our favorite dog. Echo. Don't listen. If you're my dogs, don't listen. You're letting this out, you're letting this sort of like your subconscious almost onto the paper, and then you're consciously dealing with that as you're working in a slower way. I love that. Yeah.
So it's an interesting, again, kind of reflection on the process of sort of like subconscious, you know, but then very active thinking and I think
and mindfulness. You know, we started this whole thing really
talking about
mindfulness way back when, and it always comes back to that in a way. It does, but also just
definitely. Yeah. So where are you
okay
at?
So Hayley has not seen.
No,
she saw. We did work quickly when we were in class to get the project going.
Yes.
And we tried to say we weren't going to rip things out, but of course I ripped almost everything out. But I did, to be honest, I went back to my original vision. I was trying to play around in class to see what I was wanting to do, and I went back. So maybe I'll take it out of this. And it's a a little bit weird, but, and I don't know if it looks like my thumbnails or not, which I wish I had with me.
Should I grab the phone and like put it over anything?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, let me do that.
Let's do that. Oh, and I forgot, I have to snip. I hooked it to my, when I was stitching, I hooked it to the, oh, I can just undo this.
All right, sorry for the jostling phone. I'm like literally coming and taking control
I can do this.
over what's happening here. Ta-da, we're back.
All right. So I noticed I have this new obsession with fluorescence. I don't really know that there's an up or a down, but yeah, I think this was the way I drew it. So I took a few different things. Hayley knows I sort of have this pelvis kidney shaped thing that I keep coming back to here. So this will be, it's going to be, I filled in like this is where I need the shaver, Hayley, to get it. So this is actually,
what is that?
It is cotton. I'll show you what it is.
I'm trying to like get, it's hard because it's white, so it's hard to like.
It's just cotton.
Oh, and then you just, so you hooked it and then you
I did.
trimmed it?
I trimmed it and I hooked it. I did it like this. I think I did three or four like this.
Yep.
Because it really wouldn't stick in.
Yes, right.
So
yeah,
that's why it looks so full. But it's really, if you look on the back,
yeah, it's not
that
many
stitches. Dense.
Yeah,
just,
but it looks very
fluffs.
dense.
Yeah, all I could think of was, I know there was a lot of talk of sheep in the
Oh,
class,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
does
yeah.
have a sheep-like quality.
Have you ever heard of Waldoboro in terms of rug hooking?
No.
It's a whole, well, it's a little less what you're doing, but all the hooking is sheared and sometimes sheared into shapes.
Oh,
so like you
I
can
thought
do
of like a chenille blanket when I was making it. Is it like that?
Kind of, but you can literally shape the surface of your rug to like look like flowers or hills.
Yeah, almost like you're
a three-dimensional. Yeah, you can sculpt.
Yeah,
sculpt the
I could
surface.
see that. So, and I do need to go in here. I haven't. This is not finished, but I wanted to see if I even liked it before I did another section. Yeah. So I do. I need to cut those loops, and I think I need like a razor to cut it. So this is kind of my circle. This I actually think I'm going to cut out. So it's
Oh,
I
okay.
realize it's
Yep.
going to be like a donut, but that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with
And my goal, as we've talked about working bigger, I realize this is a great way for me to work bigger with embroidery because I can do these giant stitches and work with yarn.
See what you're working with there.
So again, this is just yarn.
Yep,
This is, I believe it's maybe a Cascade wool blend or something.
Okay.
And I'm doing a split stitch. So I'm coming up, you can see right here in the middle
Yep.
of each stitch going forward, coming up. And that kind of has allowed me, and if I get a spot like this,
Yep.
if you can see, I might come back in and put a stitch there.
But it's very directional.
Yeah, it's very directional. This is some of the sari.
Yep.
And here I've hooked with the sari, and
Yep.
here I have stitched with the
Stitched it.
sari. And then I actually think with this split stitch area, I may see, I don't know if I'll do it in this piece, but you could come in and embroider on top of this as well.
Right, for sure.
With regular
Just keep
embroidery and
adding
kind of keep adding layers.
and layers.
So I'm thinking in terms of layers because
Yep.
we've been doing the collage with the tissue paper and then I've been adding paint and pens and everything
Yep.
to that. So yes, so I'm starting with that. And this, I don't know about this shape or this composition or anything else,
But you can edit that.
yeah,
as
I
you
can
go.
edit it as I go.
'Cause you
I
can always
literally
get
drew
bigger.
this in like, I think 4
Yeah.
or 5 minutes.
Right.
So we'll see. This is just fun.
Yeah, see how
Yeah.
it goes. Is there anything else about like I'm very curious about this shape
Yeah,
and
so
everything going on inside
I
of it.
know. So I noticed in a lot of my thumbnails, I had these circular shapes with lines either going across this way
Yep.
or coming this way.
Yep. And you guys can see those in one of there's a video Liz did talking about all these little
Right, you
paintings.
can go back and look at that
Yeah,
video.
for
It's
sure.
the one about having a creative partner. I
Yep.
think
There's
it
lots
talks
of
about that.
paintings you can
Yeah,
refer
so
to.
I wanted to just take some of the images, remove them from my thumbnails. I'm thinking of this as an exercise in abstracting ideas from one thing and putting it into another thing.
Right.
And combining techniques. I'm doing a lot of combining techniques.
Sure.
And you've probably seen a lot of quilting and rug hooking together and adding embroidery onto the quilted part. So I kind of want to remove that quilted aspect of it and add in just maybe, just embroidery as the base.
Right.
And have more rug hooking.
Yeah.
So, and
any
then,
thoughts yet about working on the linen?
oh, I'm really enjoying it, actually.
Okay, all right.
Because normally I do monk's cloth,
Yeah.
but I have done linen.
Yeah,
I've done both,
yeah.
but I'm really liking the linen for the embroidery.
Okay. I
Especially
was curious. The holes are big. Like
the
it's
holes
a big
are
grid.
big, but I'm doing another piece right now where I'm embroidering with a little bit of yarn in our let me tease our next video, our limited palette video.
Yep.
And to get yarn and a needle through, I use a couple of layers for the black and white because it's so stark of fabric. It's really like hard.
Yeah.
And it's a physical chore and it's not good for your hands. So this just opens up kind of a whole new world, really.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Hayley and I were looking at, I can't remember the artist who it was. I will share it in the future. Maybe even some images if we can get permission. There was an artist who also combines paint with this. Remember we saw the, yeah. What that? Is that Echo?
I think so. I don't know if Echo's giving Abby a
and
hard time.
it was very symmetrical, and then he had like some painted things
Oh,
and some embroidered things and some
yes.
rug-hook
We will.
things.
I'll find the name just so people can look
Yeah,
at
because
him on
it's
Instagram.
just so,
Yes.
it's so inspiring
Yes.
and so on point for what I'm exploring right now. It's kind of nice. Sometimes you feel like you're in a void when you start doing weird things, and then you realize, oh no, there's a whole
there's
world out there of
always
people
somebody,
doing the same
always
types
somebody
of things.
doing
Yeah,
something.
and I want to be able to inspire other people. Kind of.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Well,
we'll see.
it looks
I don't
like
know.
a great start.
I have orange, like an orangey sari as well. This is kind of my
Bag of tricks.
My
Yeah,
bag
let's
of
see
tricks
your.
here.
Let's see your. Yeah, I'd love for you to pull that out and put it on top.
Okay,
and-
let's see. We have
so we can see
some of that.
some of your plans.
I know. I'm not sure. I just pulled different. Oops.
Love it. Your little baskets of ends and things.
I have
Oh.
here. We did a little bit of value structure in the class, so I just
Yeah.
pulled
It's a very Liz palette, I
It is
feel
a very
like.
Liz
Yeah,
palette.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, this is all stuff I had. Some of it I got from
Yep.
Hayley, but some of it I had.
You know, though, like, I love that you're kind of using a palette that's very you, because I always say, like, one challenge at a time, or at least I had a friend that told me that once. Like, okay, so you're going big and you're trying a different technique with
shopping bag.
with bigger materials. So it's like, well, yeah, go ahead and use a
Yes.
palette that you can lean on, because it's like you only need to explore one thing at a time.
And I have been doing in the painting a lot of pushing my palette.
You
I'll
have.
call it pushing my palette. So
Yeah.
it was kind of nice to come back.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I got these from Hayley, and
Yep.
it's been nice just to have these almost as like to pull.
Yeah.
That's where I got the ones I stitched
Yeah, those
with,
are very
actually.
nice jewel tones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I'm not always a jewel tone person.
Yeah.
But they complement.
It goes.
So anyway, so that is that. So we'll see where that goes.
Fabulous.
I'm excited to explore that a little more.
Yeah.
And go with that.
Definitely. Cool.
More to come.
More to come, indeed. Do you think we have time to talk about my behemoth?
Yes, let's talk about it,
All
because
right,
I feel like
cool.
it's on point. Now I'm looking at the. It looks like.
All right, I'm gonna
go over here.
Spin you back around. In fact, I'm gonna stop the video again, and I'm going to set you up on an easel.
Yeah, it's got that portrait mode going on. All right, yeah. I can't really see the. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
So get in there. Get in there.
All right, so we've looked at this. This is my biggest piece I've done in years. And really, it's been a long time. I tend to work, like traditional picture size, because it's just where I'm comfortable, or small, and like, this or this. 18 by 24, that kind of thing, 22 by 30. This is obviously bigger than that, with potential to go bigger. And the last time I saw this, there was a lot more of this showing, which is kind of like it was a very strange palette for me. It's purples and dark greens. There was a lot of, what else was there? There was a lot of,
I feel like there was it was a lot more paper and paint, and the fabric looked supplemental.
There was a lot more paint, for sure. And then I started adding a lot more fabric, or maybe when we started, like, a lot of this fabric was here, but I've now started stitching it down. I don't know, and like it obviously needs more stitching. I've then added more quillies. I've added more. I'm trying to recycle a lot of my selvage.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Yes, and so I'm finding different weird ways to incorporate it through these braids, that zigzag, trying to use it as like kind of a surprising line. I think before it was very, there was a lot less of these graphic moments. This is now turned into a basket for these things. They're not affixed in any way. They're just sort of stuffed in there with some
but
of this.
But it gives it like a translucent quality. I think it's fabulous.
Makes you look at the fact that it's a vessel and that it's holding something. And it's what's that word in quilting?
Like trapunto.
Yes.
Yes, it's like it's raised. It's
we just talked about that when we went to see Michael C. Thorpe. You were telling me about trapunto.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was subconsciously in my mind.
And what's funny, we talked about recently. We were talking about the piece where I stuffed the bird.
We were
with your pieces.
Was it a dodo bird or something? It was like a
kiwi.
Kiwi.
But then, and that came from somebody else. So I love how this like idea of taking what is left over and making it part of your work. It has like trickled down to all these people from other people.
Right, but also, like you can see there's a Liz influence through some of the stitching that I'm doing. I'm letting that stitching in. My stitching needs work, of course.
No, you don't. You want it to. I love it.
Yeah, well, it's fine, but it's like I am looking at what you do, your work, and some of the effects that you get are really stunning. So like that's kind of something that like I can see enhancing this piece even more, but also maybe bringing it up and being even bigger. The one thing I do have been noticing as Liz and I like talk about other people's art, is space, like leaving a lot like space around or within your work to breathe. And this is not that. So I'm now thinking about space a bit more in my work and how I can incorporate it. Again, I don't know if it's going to happen in this piece, but having like moments of quiet is something that I'm like, I can learn a little bit about that. So that's might be a challenge, you know, in maybe the next piece, maybe in this one. I don't know. I have all this space up here I can work. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that's the thing. This is a big piece. It's taking me a long time, and every week I maybe get like a little more done on it, and I have a little more of what I'm like reflecting on. Yeah. Again, it's all about learning. And I'm learning as I do this, and I'm learning. You know,
and you're contemplating.
Yeah,
yeah. You're really thinking about it.
Yeah.
Which is what I love.
Yeah. So it does. It I think from the last time you saw it to this time is the most change, because I did have like one morning that I just sort of went crazy with all this and just put a bunch more color and kind of feels a little more like me now. So yeah. So that's where I'm at. If anybody has any like thoughts, suggestions. Let me know, because again, I'm in process, not quite sure what's going on.
Yeah, but I love it. I have to say, it's really come a long way.
Yeah,
and we talked about layering a little earlier. I feel like that you've really successfully used your materials and made really interesting layers and layers that add to the story that aren't just like, I'm just going to pile more on here. They really are.
That's interesting.
You know,
I feel like it's just been piled.
No, I feel like you're really responding to your base layer, and it shows, and it's evolving, and you have similar marks, and you have similar shapes, but they're very subtle, and they're talking to each other.
Because I feel like it's just been like, when I don't know what's happening, I'm piling more stuff on. That's okay, right? Again, it's like I'm learning through it, but I'm glad that you feel like it's like thoughtful. I mean, it is always thoughtful.
Yeah.
But
well, the other thing too is when you're layering with opaque materials, you may be layering something on, but you're also removing something.
Right.
So, you know, you talk about moments of quiet and moments where there is space, and I feel like
go over here.
You have this
right
here that's giving that nice resting, and even this down here gives like a sense of depth and space in a different way.
Sure, because it's transparent.
It's transparent, and then you have this here, which when you're far away, these stitching lines, I can't not look at them because I can't quite tell. Are they underneath this?
Sure,
Are they on top of that? So I really feel like that's really, really, you know, powerful. And then the layering also, I think, your color. It's really making your color story really cohesive. That's just my outside view of it.
Thank you. I think like part of it is what's the word I'm looking for? It's like I feel like there's so many layers because again, like I'm learning. I don't quite know what I'm doing.
And there's depth too, because this and this and this almost read like
the
one background. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a value structure.
Yeah, you're so good at that.
That honestly I didn't quite know was happening until you're pointing it out. Now
but you said you were subconscious.
Now I want to put more. You know where I want to put.
You know where I want to put a dark piece. Oh, do I have something dark? Bear with me.
Oh, I have a feeling. I'm going to see where she puts it.
Bear with me.
Okay.
It's not going to be the right shape, but
I had a feeling it was going in that corner somewhere.
Right down there. But it's not. It needs to be half the size. Needs to be. My scissors.
Oh no, she's getting up. Now all of a sudden I'm seeing that darker part in the bottom left-hand corner that I didn't even notice before.
Yeah, and sorry for the bright yellow pin. but it needs there.
And what's funny is, do you see? You almost made a
that's-
continuation of this shape
Exactly.
here too. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like it's coming out.
Yeah, that's
That's great.
better. Just put your
Here.
thumb or something dark over that.
Just pretend that that's not.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, that might stay. I'm not sure, or like, you know, that, but edited maybe into a shape, and I don't know.
I love
But that would be better. But that's what I'm doing now, is I'm kind of tickling it in a way, and I feel like I need to make another big move. Like, again, you deciding what I'm gonna do. Is
Out
this
here.
it? Am I gonna, is this it? Or am I gonna continue the shape? Am I gonna make it
radiate with,
bigger?
Like some stitching.
Maybe, I don't. The
You
thing
mentioned
is,
that before.
I'm not a huge fan of the canvas in color or in texture. So I don't know if I'm gonna.
Could you add like some paint?
Yeah.
And then
Yep, I could do that. I've considered painting it or like, you know, giving it a wash.
yeah.
I've considered just sort of covering it with a neutral color,
Could you-
like wool or something?
You could. I feel like you could. You know. I don't know. I feel like something with your salvages up
Mhm.
here. Maybe
Yeah.
if they were couched or.
Yeah, maybe.
You know,
Maybe.
Not to be like, let's put some antenna on this, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, just kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
also see a delicate line. I'm not,
Yes,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not sure. But that's like, that's what I mean. Like, I just keep kind of like,
I think that's what I mean. I keep piling things on to the actual meat of the piece without considering, okay, like what's like the next, like don't keep fiddling with that before you have your whole composition
right.
figured out.
Oh, that's true. 'Cause I know what you're saying because I'm having that feeling. I told you about the one from your class that I'm working on because I feel like I'm composing a bullseye and we're, you know, and I want to compose more all over and then fill in and react to what's happening.
Yep.
If that makes sense. I feel like that's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of. I'm gonna give the viewer a little bit of a closer look here. Sorry, that's wonky, but so anyway, so that's where I'm at. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm very open to suggestions right now, because again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I have a couple ideas, but nothing that's like, oh, you gotta do that, and nothing that's probably gonna happen very soon because show season's starting again, and I will be out of town. So
Yes, busy.
yep. So anyhow, I think that's kind of like a good
That's where we
update
are,
for us.
yeah.
That's where we are.
Yes.
So we'll see you in the next video. Don't be a stranger.
I know. Let us know what you're working on and what you think, and give us ideas
Yeah.
for what we're working on because
Yeah.
we're always open to ideas. We love it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
We'll
Thanks.
see ya.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Bye.